Hey everyone, welcome back to Podcast The Sequel, where we discuss the good, the bad, and the continued. I'm Ryan.
I'm Marissa.
I'm Manira.
I'm Joseph.
And with the 35-year anniversary of Back to the Future Part 2, we're talking about Back to the Future Part 2. But before we can do that, we got to talk about Back to the Future Part 1. Let's kick it off with that budget.
Hell yeah, brother. $19 million budget. This is about the same, dog. $19 million budget with a $388.8 million box office. A huge success. No cinema score because they weren't tracking the cinema scores until 1986. So no cinema score for that. And Rotten Tomatoes is Rotten Tomatoes. So
100% cinema score. That's what I say.
well, yeah, and we do have a cinema score for the second one, and we can debate that one. And get to that.
I don't know if there's going to be that much of a debate, but
yeah, but then we could probably give it to the first one based off the second one, because I'm pretty sure our reviews are gonna like.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, no,
probably.
I really like this movie. I know I hate a lot of the movies that all three of you guys really do like Aliens, but I did really enjoy this movie. I really did enjoy it. I had a great time watching it. I have almost zero complaints about part one of Back to the Future. Almost zero complaints. I had a really great time watching it. I have not seen this movie that many times. I saw it for the first time maybe when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And then I saw it maybe I would probably say maybe 5 times I've seen this movie. In my entire life, I've seen it about like 5 times. Yeah. And then I think like half of them are probably with you.
yeah, I do watch this movie a lot. I watched the whole trilogy a lot. You know, it's a fun. To me, I feel like it's a fun summer blockbuster flick to just put on every now and then.
Yeah.
So I enjoy the highs more so. To me, the first one especially doesn't have that many lows to me. But yeah, I love it. It's nostalgic. I love the adventure sense of it. I love the cast. I mean, Christopher Lloyd as Doc Brown is amazing. I love him. Michael J. Fox as Marty. Awesome. Love it. So yeah, I love this film, man. I love getting into like the facts of how they made this movie. Like, people don't know Michael J. Fox originally wasn't going to play Marty McFly. They filmed the whole entire film with like Eric Stoltz, and then when they realized we don't really like what he's giving us, they completely reshot every single scene with Michael J. Fox. So yeah, but yeah, I love this film.
Yeah, as do I. I think this is one of my favorite movies probably of all time. Definitely like in the top tier list for sure.
Yeah, I don't like it. No, I'm just
Could you imagine that? Like, this movie sucks.
Nah,
Just a curveball.
Yeah. There's someone out there who's like, nah, this movie sucks.
Oh, I'm sure there are. I mean, there's nobody that loves every single movie. Like, and there's nobody that, like, everybody does not love every movie that everybody else loves. Like,
Yes.
there's generally, I think, like a consensus for like well-loved movies, but 100% across the board is insane. That's why, like, I feel like for those types of websites that give movies like 100%, like, that's only from one perspective. And I think that's why like there's so many different podcasts like us that do what we do, because there are so many points of view to kind of depict and kind of get, you know, and that's the great thing about cinema. It's the same thing with like music. There's so many different genres, and there's so many things within movies that really make them great for people to love. So I think this brings like a great concept, especially like it was from the 80s. So I mean, going into the future, you're always, you know, no matter what generation you're from, you're always thinking like, what would it be like in, you know, 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, however many years. I think my personal favorite piece of this movie kind of always is what I always thought, which is like, how were my parents at my age or older, a little bit teenager, like in high school? Like, what was it like for them? Like, I would love to go see my parents in high school, because I just think that would be wild. Like, they never met in high school, but just to see both of their different perspectives. Like, my dad was in Vietnam when my mom was being born. So, like, what difference was going on? Sorry to call you out. But, you know, well, no, I mean, I'm trying to call it their age. But, I mean, like, but that's crazy. Like, you know, to see the difference in, like, generations of, like, what their time frame in high school would have looked like.
And I think you bring up a good point, because when I looked into the history of Back to the Future and why the directors and came up with the idea for Back to the Future is he went through his father's yearbook.
He did. Bob Gale
went through his father's yearbook. I forgot his name for a second. I was like, he went through his father's yearbook, and the whole premise of it is he wondered if he would have been friends with his father in high school based off of the photos that he saw in his yearbook. So I was like, that's a pretty good point, because I feel like I don't think I would have been friends with my parents in high school.
I think I actually
on
would have been
very-
friends with my mom.
I would not
Yeah,
have.
I
been.
probably wouldn't have with my dad just based on like.
I'm on that same. Yeah, I think I would have been friends with my mom. I don't think I would have been friends with my dad.
Well, I think it's also like based on like my dad was born in the 40s, so I think like during that generation, like guys and girls being friends probably wasn't seen as like a thing.
Frowned
like
upon.
Yeah, it was not frowned upon. Just like it probably wasn't like
Friends.
a thing. Yeah, like it would probably be one of those. But I think like I don't know. Like my mom grew up. I mean, she would have been in high school in like the late 70s. So I mean, like I probably could have seen us being. I mean, like me and my mom are generally good friends now, so I probably would have seen us being similar.
Yeah, I can say without a shadow of a doubt, me and my dad probably would have been.
Oh,
friends
absolutely.
I feel like
high
I
school
would be on
for
the same
sure.
boat.
Oh, I would have been
Been
friends
with my dad.
I would have been
over
friends
my
with your
mom.
mom for sure.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Oh, absolutely. I probably would have liked your dad too. Like I probably would have thought he was silly.
yeah, funny.
Yeah.
Yeah,
He's really funny.
it's just me, but older. Like,
I could
yeah.
see you and your dad having like that shtick of like just like two like clowning around buddies, like class clowns in the back, like sitting in the back of the classroom, like throwing shit or like doing
Yeah.
anything like
The
that.
two just wild and crazy guys just with each other, just like all the time.
Are you Steve Martin? Just
I don't
wild
know.
and
Maybe.
crazy guys.
Yeah, maybe.
If you've ever seen Saturday Night Live, that's what that's
It's,
from.
yeah, it's a dated
Sorry.
skit, but
It's dated,
a
but
little problematic, maybe.
well, you know.
It was the times. It was the times.
Anyway.
I think one of the greatest things that I found about this movie is the attention to detail that they spent on this movie. So one of the things that I focused on a lot in this movie is the product placement, specifically in this movie. So
I wanted a Pepsi so bad.
I don't like Pepsi, but I wanted a Pepsi. I'm a Coke girl, but I wanted a Pepsi
Wasn't
so
someone also
bad.
like rocking a Mountain Dew hat at one point?
Yeah.
That's actually the stunt coordinator for the movie.
Yeah.
I'm just saying RC Cola all the way.
Shasta.
Oh God, no.
No.
But
Is that the poor man's cola?
Yes.
isn't Shasta
What?
also
Isn't
the
it?
poor man's
It
cola?
is. That's a
I
fact.
think-
Yeah.
What is Shasta is Safeway's? Oh no, Safeway. No, Shasta's some. No, it's not. It's its own cola, isn't it?
I think it's just his own
Yeah.
cola.
It's its own cola.
That's been a minute.
It has been a
It's
minute.
There we go. A
revenge.
little earthquake.
Yeah. But back to like their product placement. What I thought was interesting is that they have 6 product placements every 10 minutes in the movie, which I thought was interesting. So when I looked into it, the filmmakers specifically chose brands that changed their logos between 1955 and 1985 when the movie came out. So each of their logos, like the Pepsi logo in the 50s versus 1985 when Marty goes to the future. Back to the Future,
Oh, it's
completely
different.
different.
There's a
They're all
difference.
different. So Pepsi, Nike, Pizza Hut, the Weather Channel, and 7-Eleven were some of the logos that had like a logo change between the 50s and the 80s. So I thought it was a very good like attention to detail that they put extra effort into the movie, which I thought was interesting,
Yeah.
and I actually really liked it.
I love
That
when he
went
goes into
back
the
looking
diner. He's
into
like,
it.
"Can I have a Pepsi free?" And he's like, "What's it gonna cost you, kid?" Like,
The soda jerk.
Yeah. Like it's not going to be free.
That and when George goes in there and he's like, "I'll have a milk, make it chocolate." Just
the slide and stuff.
across the- ah.
I drank a chocolate milk right after seeing that scene.
There is a scene where he's like drinking chocolate milk and he's having scrambled eggs, and I just like the perplexion that I have of like,
Yeah, you mentioned that, and it's like their school lunch. Because
yeah,
it wasn't
or
like
something. Yeah,
morning,
it's something.
yeah.
And I'm just like, I mean, I don't know. I know Joseph had it because we've talked about it many a times, but like for our lunch for school, we had like that breakfast pizza square, which was like,
Yep.
I thought it was delicious.
That wasn't lunch though. That was like in the morning. You could.
Yeah,
go.
no, yeah, it was in the morning. Like if you were like dropped off at like 6 a.m. because your
Yeah.
parents had to get to work and like you had nothing else to do.
It is
like
what it is.
you went and you got like a Pepsi or like a Coke or something, and you got that breakfast triangle square thing.
Ours
And
was square.
it was delicious.
It was pretty good.
I stand by it. I
Yeah.
think it's delicious. It's terrible for you. It's probably not
That and
good.
the cheese
but
bread was like wildly good as well.
We had like Papa John's cheese bread, not even pizza,
Mm-hmm.
just like garlic bread, and that was like lunch.
My
just had
school
the
had
cheese-
round table pizza.
Oh, that's
Yeah,
That
no,
was like-
ours was like
We-
breadsticks.
We had like the individual pizza. It doesn't matter. Individual pizza.
I know we're getting into
Yeah, we're
like
going
way
to,
too
like,
many.
yeah.
School.
Yeah.
So the DeLorean, as well as the car, originally Ford reached out to the movie and they were like, "Hey, we'll give you $75,000 to use the Mustang." And the producer and director came out being like, "Doc Brown is not driving a fucking Mustang," and that's the exact quote. He's not driving.
Robert
a fucking
Robert Zemeckis said that.
Him and
Bob Gale?
yeah, they both
Bob
said
Gale?
that. They're like, he's not going to drive a Mustang. Like that
Sick.
doesn't fit the character. DeLorean makes more sense for that character. We're not going to do that. But yeah, so they rejected $75,000.
It honestly seems like more of a futuristic car.
It does. It
Like
fits. Yeah.
a Mustang doesn't seem very
No.
futuristic. It seems like an everyday kind of whatever car. Well, not okay. Sorry, I shouldn't say whatever car, but
I feel like it is. I feel like a lot of people put attention to detail on like it's a classic car. And
I mean, I
it's a
will say,
Mustang.
like my
Which-
dad, like my
It's
dad
okay.
was a Ford man. Like he drove like Ford. Like I drive Toyota. My dad drives Ford. Like people are very, but he is also like a classic, I guess, man, if you will, 1940s.
Which I like the fact that they chose the DeLorean over the Ford, because I know when I was looking into it, they originally wanted the time travel device, whatever you call it. It was supposed to be a fridge.
Oh, I was like, was it supposed to be Elon Musk's truck that he has or
Oh,
whatever
the
that is?
stupid Cybertruck?
The
Yeah, the
Cybertruck?
Cybertruck.
No.
Is that even Elon Musk?
Yes.
Yes.
Am I getting
That
that
is-
right? Okay,
that
I
is
was
Elon.
like,
Yeah,
like
it
I'm
was
so
supposed to be
behind
a
in cars.
fridge, and I was just like, I like the fact that it was a car, because I feel like it adds more to the appeal of the movie. Like, obviously, this movie was marketed a lot towards the male audience, with like the use of like the sports cars and the certain like product placements that they used. So I feel like it added more to it than like a fridge. I was like, what's the point of a fridge besides like keeping your food cold?
it kept Harrison Ford safe.
I was
during
literally
Indiana
thinking
I was,
that right now.
That's the very first thing I thought of for sure.
No, yeah.
I want to wait. I want to touch really quick because you referenced that the movie is very male forward. I think is the term you used.
Yes, I did. So I didn't watch this movie growing up because to me, I pictured it just being a guy's movie versus like when I was young, I just wanted to watch my stupid little princess movies.
As we saw in last week's episode.
Can't hate. But I feel like for me, like growing up, I grew up in a family that's predominantly like all male, that it was very much like the guys went and did their own thing where I was just doing my own thing as like the only girl in my family for a while. So I feel like for me, like all of my siblings and my cousins went to go watch it where I didn't, because it's like, oh, this is for boys. You don't want to watch this.
Yeah.
But as an adult watching this, I had a great time watching it, where I don't necessarily see, I think it's, you have the romance element where for Marty and his girlfriend, whose name I don't remember, Jennifer, and then like the whole getting his parents together, like there is an element for women who like the romantic element to it, but I feel like it's a movie that's good for both genders. Is where I'm going with now.
I would argue against the romance part of it, but not the adventure part of it. Like the adventure, absolutely. I think that any sort of like gender, race, whatever have you, can appeal to the adventure, the wanting to see like the past, wanting to go to the future. I think anybody would want to see that, but I would argue that the whole setup between the parents, like, is Lorraine, who's the mom, like, is she really like a woman that people can look up to? Is she somebody
No.
that you can identify with?
No.
Like, especially for that time frame too, like in the 50s, right? 55?
Especially when he's like,
Well,
yeah.
that's what I mean. They tackle that subject matter when they go back in time. And,
Yeah.
and they
Or even
tackle-
when she's at the table, she's like, I never sat in a car with a boy.
Yeah.
because
kinda
that's
thing.
what Marty always heard.
Yeah.
But they
'Cause
tackle
girls
like-
don't chase guys. So,
Yeah.
I think they did a good job with Lorraine, especially like going back into the past, like seeing a woman in the 50s. I think they did a good job of just showing that she was not your stereotypical women in the 50s who just followed mom and dad's direction and had like her whole life planned out, basically. I think they did a good job of kind of giving her more of a character arc than what you see Lorraine in the 80s, which I didn't care for Lorraine in the 80s. I actually liked Lorraine in the 50s a lot more than older Lorraine.
And I don't like Lorraine in the 50s.
I like Lorraine in the 50s.
Well, no, because I'm like, what is she like? What's her identification?
She's a
Who
horny
is she?
teen that's got
She's
a guy
just
in front of
horny
her.
teenager, yeah. But I think it's
But I don't
more
think that's a
so.
dub.
But I mean, like, how did George get her? You know, like, what's the appeal? with
Especially that
George?
he was like a peeping Tom.
Yeah,
And,
like he was
George
kind
is
of
a
like he's
Tom.
very
Yeah.
like no
I
offense.
hated George.
Yeah, no offense to George, but he's like a very weak character. Like there's nothing really going for him. Like what does he really have to give as a partner? So like why is she like all of a sudden like, "Oh, my dad hit you with the car." And like I know they explained the Florence Nightingale situation kind of thing, but I feel like that's not enough to produce like a well-rounded marriage with 3 kids that's ongoing. Like, I know divorce wasn't really a big thing back then, but now you're going forward into the 80s, and I don't know. I just feel like she's not a very strong character.
Especially when she's like retelling the story in the beginning of the film, and like George is so like not into it. He's just watching TV.
Oh,
and
he's
laughing.
the
He's
worst.
Like, what,
Yeah,
Lorraine?
he's
And he
the
just
worst.
like turns
Yeah.
back to the TV, just laughs. It's like there's no real romantic like setting there for between the both of them. Like obviously it gets better because of Marty, because he makes that happen. He hypes up George to be the guy that he's supposed to be, and that ends up changing the
But
future
is
for
he,
him.
or is he just hyping George up to be somebody that like he should be?
So there is an abandoned plot line for Back to the Future, and it's still sort of shown in the movie, like when him and George are talking and they're walking in and Marty has that bag with him.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it was like a laundry bag. I was like, what is he
Yeah.
doing
Me
with
too,
that?
yeah.
Mhm.
It's a punching bag.
Yes,
like-
you're right,
and-
you're right. It is a
And
punching
so
bag.
the whole point was that like George kind of wanted to be a boxer and like be more assertive and like wanted to like fight. And then they had elements of it, like you see him writing with his like drawing with his left hand and stuff
Mm-hmm.
because he was left-handed. So in that time, they wanted to frown upon being left-handed because it was considered like wrong or weird.
Yeah, it's I forgot what
And
they
that's
call
why
it,
when
but
he punches Biff, you see his hand clench up. It's his left hand, and that's when he throws the punch.
see, and I feel
But they
like that
kept
would
that.
be, but I feel like going in that direction and making him and building him as a stronger person and then changing him into the future, like to be a stronger man, would have been so great. Like, I know, like, once again, very nitpicky. Like, I'm not trying to, like, I know we're kind of starting off this with like a bunch of negatives, but I just feel like, you know, like the mom and dad as like characters, like they don't, I wish there would have been like a stronger bond other than like my dad hit you with his car and I just felt sorry for you kind of thing.
Yeah,
Like, I wish like they found something to like connect on where they're like, you know, like, oh, you like anime? I like anime. Oh, like, because they seem like anime people, but
I mean, also opposites attract, right?
Yeah.
That's sort of a thing as
but
well.
are they opposites? Because they both seem like weak people.
I mean, in that aspect, I mean, they're children technically.
Yeah.
They're
I mean,
not
if you
adults.
Put yourself in like the shoes of like if you were in the 50s, you and I would have been married off at like 16 years old. If you were in like the 1950s. Maybe?
I don't know if that's
You
how that
know,
works.
Maybe
not
I'm
in the
thinking
50s.
my wrong time period.
Yeah, I was like, not in the 1950s.
Like
Culture too.
graduated high school.
Like, we
whatever.
would have definitely be seen as more of like a prize, not necessarily like something to be sold off as, but
Yeah.
like it's definitely more of like a Joseph's a star quarterback and you're on the cheerleading team and he really wants to woo you, so he'll give you his class ring or his Letterman jacket kind of thing. Like, he's gonna protect you, he's gonna take care of you, because as women we're seen more so as like fragile creatures, but we're also vital in order to, like, you know, create a home or have children to take care of children, which are future soldiers and governors. And
Which
you know,
plays into a lot of critics brought up about this film, that it's very based off of Reaganism, which is
Yes.
the American
Yes.
dream.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I feel like for me, what I wanted to see more is seeing the Lorraine in the 1950s. I wanted to understand what basically turned her into not necessarily a prude in the 80s, but what was the shift in her character where she was basically like, no boys, like you shouldn't be talking to a boy, or you can't talk to a boy that
Yeah.
late, or anything like that, or I don't like this girl because she calls you past dinner time or whatever. Like, I want to know what was the shift in
What
her
happened, yeah.
character.
Probably just having kids in general.
Probably.
Yes.
That's what
Maybe.
I assume.
well, and I think that this is a great opportunity where like I would actually enjoy seeing them try to recreate Back to the Future. I know like a lot of people frown on like reboots and everything like that. But I feel like this has a great opportunity, especially in this generation, where you could almost change, like do the same storyline, exactly the same. But when he goes back to the future, instead of having Marty be the one to kind of change the dad, like why not have like Lorraine punch him? Like, why not have, you know, like, I mean, yes, like it's a little bit more like feministic kind of view, but like it's still something that I think like both generations.
Keep it together, cameraman.
I know. I feel like both, you know, like I feel like everybody could kind of work around it, like in a sense that it's not super like the women are taking over like Ghostbusters or
Well,
you know, stuff
I
like
mean-
that.
I'm an adult virgin.
Yeah, I was like, that's right.
On the heels of that, though, like they did sort of portray that in a certain way because it is the 50s. Like, she is a woman.
Absolutely.
And that's the way that it kind of was stereotypically.
Stereotypically, yes, but I feel like if we're going with Lorraine as like a stronger character, you know, and she like, you know, initially she does try to fight back. Like she hops on Biff's shoulders and she's like, stop it, like stop, you know, like don't
she's,
hurt him.
she's always beefing with Biff the entire film.
Yeah,
Like, she's
exactly.
never
And
gives in
he's
to
always like,
his
I'm gonna marry
persuasive-
you,
yeah.
and she's like, no, never. Like I want that for her. Like I want that strength from her. So I feel like if they ever did do a reboot, like I personally would not mind seeing her to be the one to knock him out and be like, you know what, like I'll save you and I'll still be together. We can be this strong team together, and then that creates more of a basis for her as a mother and a future character.
God damn.
They sort of like pigeonholed themselves
They
at
did.
the ending of episode 1.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or part 1. And they just kind of were like, well, now we have to write a movie around that.
Yeah.
It kind of hindered them a little.
I have a question for you guys. If somebody came up to you and said that I have a time machine and you can see what your future would look like in 20 years, would you go into
You
that
son of a
time
bitch, I'm
machine
in.
and see what your life looks like 20 years from now? Yes or no?
No, absolutely
No,
not.
I don't want to know.
Oh, okay. Well,
No.
are we assuming that, like, no, it's 100% real
Nobody-
and we can prove it? Or is it like, I just have to
You
take
go
his
into
word
the
for it?
future and you see your life in 20 years. It 100% works. Would you go into the future knowing what your life will look, wanting to know what your life would look like 20 years from now?
What happens if you go in 20 years and then it's just darkness? Because
You take that
something
risk.
else
You
happened.
take that
Dad.
risk. As
Yeah,
someone,
what happens?
I know that I personally would not go because I don't want to know what my future would look like 20 years from now, because I feel like when I go back to 2024, it would shape my life knowing, okay, so I know in like 20 years from now, I'm X, Y, and Z. I'd be like, I don't want to do this. Like, I don't want to live anymore, or whatever, what my future looks like
Jesus.
20 years from now.
I think, though, that would just, you kind of wrote yourself into your own paradox.
Yes,
Of, like,
so I wouldn't wanna
you
go.
shaped your own future.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
In
wouldn't
that
want to go
aspect.
into the future. I don't want to know where I will be 20 years from now.
But I also feel like in every movie too, where they have this like time travel idea, if you go backwards or forwards, any little change always changes. So
Changes
even if you
something.
did go into the future and you saw like, I don't know, like today on a Wednesday I was wearing a purple dress.
It
Like you
changes.
would go back, and then because you already knew
Paradox.
that, now it's going to change because you
All
knew.
right,
And you,
hypothetically
like it
speaking,
kind of
if you just 20 some
Now
guy
you're
comes
messing
up
with
to you,
the idea of
I'm
time
messing with
travel.
the time
You're
messing with
the
powers that
idea.
you do not
Knowing it.
understand.
Yes. You're getting too like.
It's just a yes
Yeah,
or
but
no.
no, you're
Yes
adding
or no.
wrinkles to it. What's the
Take the
question?
wrinkles
No,
out.
no, no,
You
don't
just
know.
find out what your
You
life
have to
is
add
like
wrinkles
20
'cause
years
that's what
from
goes
now.
into time. That's what goes into time travel. There are specific rules to this. You go back in time, you change one thing, everything changes. Anyways, no, I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
I wouldn't want to know.
They're a very simple formula.
I think my question goes more to you. I know you like to control, not necessarily control things, but you want to somewhat, just somewhat control things. Would you want to
got
know?
more
I'm not
budget
saying
stuff
anything
when you get-
negative, but would you want to know what your future is like 20 years from now?
No,
Okay, thank you.
no, I wouldn't.
If you go back in time and
as
stop
much
9/11.
okay, no, and we'll get into it more with the second one, but as much as yes, I will admit that I have like major control issues with like my direct world. I feel like there's just so many things personally in my life, and like not to like bring up too much on the podcast, but like I feel like there's so many things that I already know about my life, my situation, my family, my friends, and all that stuff that I feel like I already know so much that like I'm good. Like I'm trying to, I want to enjoy the ride a little bit more. And I feel like that's also something that this like not necessarily says, but like you can kind of get from this of just like, okay, like why are we so focused on, because same thing like when you're in high school, like you're so focused on being an adult, right? You're so focused on like, well, I'm gonna have my own money and I'm gonna have my own time and I can't wait to get out of here and I can't, wait to be independent and do my own things and get out of my parents' house. There's so much focus on being in the future that like you can't necessarily live in the present. And I think that's what these types of movies should teach us, is that yes, there is a past, yes, there is a future, but like for the most part you should be living in your present, because what you do in your present will dictate what happens in your past and in your future. Too much?
No.
Well said.
Bars.
Well
No, that's
said.
great.
Bars.
Well said.
Yeah,
Bars.
no, it was great. Everybody learned from that.
Reading Rainbow.
Yeah. Slamming soundtrack in this movie, I gotta say.
Yes. Yes.
Power Love.
Agreed.
Would you say that
Great.
that was a little too heavy?
I mean, it was pretty heavy.
Sorry.
I know that you said while we were watching it, like why are they friends to begin with?
Oh, I always ask that question. How
So,
are they friends?
Mooney, I know that you probably already have this fact as well. So
I'll
go
let
ahead.
you
And,
say. No.
No, I'm gonna throw this one to you because she's got like literally like an essay of different.
Holy
I
shit.
insist.
Well, you spent that time. I have like a piece. I
Don't you
literally have
dare.
handwritten notes on a piece.
Yeah,
of
we all
paper.
have like handwritten stuff. She has
I
like a
wanted to go
nice.
into the
I
past
live
and-
in
It's
the
laminated.
future.
Like she went to college, guys.
So Bob Gale revealed in an interview
ITT Tech.
how Marty
How
and
dare
Doc
you.
met. Basically, Marty is always told, like especially with Mr. Strickland, that Doc is like a crazy person. He's insane. You should stay away from him. You spend too much time with him.
Okay.
So basically, hearing this piqued Marty's interest, and he snuck into Marty's lab.
Wait,
And
he snuck into.
sorry, yes.
Oh, okay. I was
sorry,
like,
the space-time continuum. Marty snuck into Doc's lab and was very enamored with all his inventions and everything that was in there. And then Doc came home, found him there, and Marty was like, "No, this is like super cool." And Doc was like, "Wow, I didn't think that you think I was cool." And he was like, "That's pretty neato that you think I'm cool." And so they just became friends, and Marty would help him with his experiments and things.
I hate that.
Why?
Why?
I
like
hate
it.
that so much.
I feel like it's telling you
I-
you can't do this, and he's like, I'm gonna do it.
No,
And then-
I like it more as like I always imagined in my own little like bubble of thought that my brain palace, if you will, that like Marty, like Doc was like a science teacher at the high school or something like that, and he was so insane and came up with all these ideas that they were just like, nah, like you're fucking out of here. But Marty's like, no, this guy is such a cool teacher, like he's great, and just stuck with being friends with him. I feel like that's just like easy money.
I'd be cool with that too, though.
Yeah, because there were a couple like teachers in my high school where I'm just like, this is a pretty cool dude. Like I had one teacher that looked like Chuck Norris. I was like, hell yeah, like let's be buddies.
I disagree with you. I like the film, whatever the filmmakers came up with.
I like
I
those.
think especially because I see Marty as very not necessarily rebellious, but very against the principal.
He's a slacker.
And the fact that the principal said, no, you cannot hang out with him. And I feel like Marty does the opposite of whatever his principal tells him.
Yeah.
Because of all the shit that the principal gives him. The fact that like he broke into Doc's lab or whatever it is to basically befriend Doc and like find out more about him. I kind of like that a lot more than him just befriending Doc. I like the fact that he was so enamored with proving his principal wrong or doing the opposite of his principal, and I think it adds more to his character, especially of him being like, don't tell me I'm like his whole concept of being
both.
like
But
a
do they
chicken
ever
right
really,
now.
but like going into just like an average viewer seeing this movie, they don't explain that though.
They don't.
So I feel like that's kind of like if they had a little glimpse of it, like maybe I could get behind it. But like if you're kind of left to your own devices of like how are they friends, it kind of puts like weird pieces together of kind of like, okay, like is Doc like even questionably like, even if you want to go like darker, like is he just friends with kids? Is
That
he like
was what
is
everyone
he got,
said.
yeah, is he like
And
a
that's why
Herbert
that-
situation?
That's why
That's
he
why they brought
said
that up.
That's why he said no. This is the backstory.
Yeah, because the only thing we know about Doc is that he's went through his entire family fortune in the beginning of the movie with those newspaper clips and stuff. That's the only thing we get of Doc origins from the beginning.
I like the mystery of it. I appreciated the mystery of it.
I would be fine with
In the movie.
either or. If he was a teacher there and he got fired, and that would have been
Yeah,
fine too.
I feel like that just makes
But
the
I
most
understand why
sense.
they do need an explanation because like that would come up
Yeah.
at some point.
In my head, right when I like first watched it, or upon watching it again, I said no. That you're watching how they became friends. Because
Yeah,
he
he
goes
always
in
said
the
that, yeah.
past and he meets him again. He goes, "What are you talking about? You're from the future." Blah blah blah.
Oh,
It's sort
okay.
of like a
Yeah,
A
it's a
paradox,
continuous.
yeah.
I like
Sort
that.
of like
If
a
I'm not
paradox, but-
critiquing it, I'm totally
I love
fine
that.
with it. I'm just saying, like, if you're going into the past, if you will, of how they even became like acquaintances, friends, whatever, like, you know, or even if it was like his crazy Uncle Doc, like kind of thing. Like, I feel like there's just, I don't know, it's a small piece, but I feel like it's enough where I'm just like, how, but where, but why, and what you notice.
I like the paradox thing. I think that's
I
that,
think
that just,
it
it
just
has
made
to happen.
me happy. I
Yeah.
was like, no, if you think about
Yeah.
it, like,
Yeah.
that's how they. That's
Yeah,
how
they've
they
just
met.
always
It
been
was
friends
just-
in
They've always
different
been
lifetimes.
friends.
It was a destiny
Exactly.
part of just
Yeah.
it had to happen. That's just part of the timeline that they're in.
Yeah.
Another little fun fact is the first movie to ever sell 450,000 VHSs, all sold at $79.95.
Yep.
Indeed, it was.
Did win an Academy Award for sound effect editing. So real huge success, man. Like this movie really blew up when it came out. It was the highest grossing film of 1985 as well.
Which is
obviously-
wild because one of my fun facts, if you would, is that this film was turned down by every like major studio at the time in the 80s. So it was turned down a total of 44 times by every major studio because everyone was like, nobody wants to watch a movie based on the future because apparently the word future was considered a bad omen in the 80s, where people like, nobody wants to know, like everything's kind of like hush hush. Nobody wants to know. Like they even thought about not putting the word Back to the Future in the word future into the title. Original title for this movie was supposed to be Spaceman from Pluto, because the word future would give people like a negative connotation towards it in the 80s. So they were like,
Pluto Nash.
I don't fucking know. But anyways,
I'm sorry.
the movie, nobody wanted to produce the movie. It wasn't until Steven Spielberg who met the two
Bob
Zemeckis and
Gale.
Gale at USC, where he was like, I like it, and then he basically gave them rights. I think it was to his movie studio Amblin Productions, where he basically produced a movie, and that's how we have the movie today, which I thought was cool, especially because like I feel like this movie specifically is very widely referenced in a lot of pop culture, where like to know that nobody wanted to make this movie, that
Which
they were
is funny
turned down
because this
44
movie
times.
has several pop culture references.
Yes,
as well.
Oh, so
it is
many, yeah.
one of the most quoted slash talked about in
Referenced,
pop culture.
yeah.
Reference, that's the right word. Reference movie in pop culture. It's, I think when I looked into it, it's in the top 10 of movies that are referenced in pop
Yeah.
culture. Which
It
I was
had a
like,
ride at one point.
it did.
Yeah,
I never
was
did
great.
it.
It did.
Never did it.
It was sick.
It was beautiful.
Sorry.
I want to talk about Biff.
Talk about Biff.
There you go. I think I mostly, and I always question this because I know that this is a big issue, like in this movie, obviously is a huge catalyst. And then also I understand it is a big thing in real life. And I don't want to get like too crazy high depth in it. And if it's too personal, like don't get too wrong. But like, did you guys have a bully in high school?
No, I
No.
didn't.
I didn't have a boy.
Or were you the bully in high school?
No comment.
I mean,
No. I won't talk about it.
to be said. I mean, I know that sometimes people have an effect on other people's lives and they don't realize
Yeah.
how much of an effect that they've had. But like as far as like stereotypical high school movies go,
Yeah.
I've never had that.
Like
situation.
did somebody throw you in a locker?
No, I've
No.
never
like,
gotten
you know
a
what I mean?
swirly. I've never been stuffed in a locker. or
I've never,
anything
yeah,
like
like
that.
I've never.
If
If
I
that
got-
happened, some shit would have went down.
I got a purple nurple the other night. Leave it at that.
The other night.
The other-
the other night.
I got a boy now. At my age.
Is it your fiance?
It's my dog. No, I'm just kidding.
It's
That
wrong.
too.
I got two. I'll live with them.
Damn.
I was never bullied, and I went to private school my entire life, and I've
Oh,
never
that screams
Oh.
bully. Yeah, that screams bully.
I was never bullied, but I've also never.
Whose head did you put in the toilet? Just say it now.
Nobody's.
Do you put a kick
Get
me
that
sign on
demon
somebody?
out.
Yeah, I was like, you put a kick me sign on somebody?
I have, but it was out of school, so it's out of context of being a bully.
Was it last night with Joseph?
No, I hurt him in other ways.
I'll have to censor that if I say that.
I think like
Look
for
at the
me,
towel.
like I've never. I will fucking kill you right now. Please cut this all out. Or keep it. I don't care.
Never.
We'll figure it out.
Never.
I feel like I've never like in high school, middle school, whatever. I've actually never seen someone bullied as hard as like Biff bullied George. His name. The name of the-
Everybody.
The fact that she does.
Yeah, you're right. You're cooking.
I feel like
you're
it was
going.
very excessive. The way that he bullied him, like I've seen people that like ask, like, yeah, like do my homework for me, sure, but like,
moment
I've
he starts
never.
knocking on
No,
his dome,
I've never.
McFly.
Yeah. McFly. Hello.
yeah,
The
especially if it was
disrespect, bro.
Adult life, like I was just like, fucking grow up here.
I know, but like even like George's delivery, like how could you not, like not? I'm not saying okay. Whoa, slow down. Not how could you not bully him, but just like how do you respect somebody who's like, oh, well, I mean, like okay, I'll do it, because he's like almost participating it, like not as like he's a bully and he's afraid. Like most of the time in like these movies, you're
encouraging it.
yeah, well, you're seeing somebody who's just like genuinely afraid that this guy is gonna beat them up, and in this case, he's almost reacting like he's their friend. Like, oh, well, you know, like I
he
had to
interacts
do
with me.
this
That's good
thing.
enough.
Yeah, like, oh, we're friends. Like, he probably was like, oh, well, do you have any friends? Oh, yeah, I have this friend Biff that's in my class. Like, that's 100% him.
Like,
That and
he
like
likes me.
between like
It's 'cause we're
that,
friends.
he doesn't really. You don't really see any friends that he has.
No.
He's a peeping tom. Like,
Yes.
I mean, I almost argue like, is George McFly really a decent character, human
Well,
being?
I mean, the only reason they got married is because
The dad hit him with the car.
Marty got hit by the car.
You had
If
to
you think
factor in
about
the
it.
past. Marty was the one who got hit by the car.
It never happened.
No.
Plus
That's why
Marty
their
forced his
future.
parents to
That's
get
why he
got
wrote the
together.
book. That's why like that Darth Vader scene when he's playing the music in his ear and the whole sci-fi thing takes off for him. Like all those events shaped him to be
was
the
like-
person he is at the end of this film. The George McGinn at the beginning of the film. That's the guy that he is. Like
Yeah.
like
George
Biff
McGinn-
being like, well, you didn't tell me there's a blind spot. Like, dude,
He's like,
come on. He's still
"Oh,
going along with it. It's like he's just a loser, you know? And
Yeah,
then all the
there's no
events that
sign,
Marty
there's no-
pulls off with Doc in that year helps shape him to be what he is at the end of the film. Beginning of the film, George has no redeeming quality whatsoever. He's a pushover.
Yeah.
And just
He's
lame.
not great.
Yeah.
Very nerdy, socially awkward.
Without Marty, like,
Yeah.
As much
Useless.
as I loved Lorraine in the 50s, I hated her in the 80s because it's like, to me personally, I could not be with a man who's as spineless as George McFly is. Like, I would have just, if I were her, I would I would have jacked Biff in the throat myself, defending my husband, father of my child, or whatever it is.
Well, that and like, I feel like, I don't know. Like,
it just doesn't make sense.
I
to
almost,
me,
like-
her trajectory.
I don't want to like have like this generation's like feelings affect my judgment of this movie. But there's also like that scene with the car where like Biff is attacking the mom, is what I will say.
SA.
Yeah,
Yes,
SA.
Saying.
And I feel like it's just like they treat it as like not like it's okay,
It was the 50s.
but it's just
But
like,
it
yeah,
wasn't just
okay.
like a big
No, like,
deal.
yeah. Well, no, like they almost treat it as just kind of like, no, like, oh, he just punched George. Well, you know, you guys just like separate kind of thing. Like they almost, it's just so treated very lightly. Like for how much Strickland is just always around. Like
Oh,
you're
yeah,
telling
I
me
get
there's
that
nobody on
part.
site.
Yeah. I
Like
thought you
they're
were talking
literally,
about
well, no, like they're just literally like 5 feet away from the dance. Like, and you're saying that nobody's hearing this scream. Like even in the
Everyone's
second.
watching her just be like, oh.
Yeah,
in
well,
the
no, and
middle
even,
of the
yeah, and
dance.
even
Stop
in,
it.
in,
Like,
in the second
bro.
one, they check on Biff where they're just like, "Oh man, are you like okay? Like he stole your wallet." Like so, they're
he stole his wallet.
yeah, they're messed. They're messed.
You stole the words out of my
They're
mouth.
so yeah, like they're so concerned with the wallet, but they're not concerned with like this girl being assaulted.
Yeah, well, it's yeah.
I think it's just, I guess, the time. I don't know. I'm not trying to
I-
defend it
That's the
at
only
all.
thing.
No, I'm not
But
asking
it's
for
wild.
defend. I'm just
No,
it's
we're
more
not.
Because even that one scene
more
with
of a
like, Beef,
rhetorical
with like
question.
Biff's crew and like they're getting Marty out. When Marty goes into the trunk, like, well, we don't want any problems with some reefer addicts, and it's like taken as like, what?
Yeah,
Like,
what are you trying to
whoa,
say?
bro?
Yeah.
and
It's
that's
implied. No, it's
yeah.
the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm
they
saying.
handle
That's what-
those
yeah.
things. They handle race. They handle gender. They handle.
And I
all
think they
kinds of
did a
shit.
good job of handling certain
Yeah.
in their
aspects
own way.
of
They
50s.
did a good job of like hinting to the societal problems of the 50s, but like not going too deep into it. I'll leave it at that.
yeah, that's not how you treat Marvin Berry.
Sure. I don't
Still
know who
though,
Marvin
yeah.
Berry is.
It's Chuck Berry's cousin.
Chuck Berry's cousin.
Marvin Berry.
It's your cousin Marvin Berry. Yeah, you're gonna love
Hold
this
on now.
sound.
Who's Chuck Berry?
Ooh, who's Chuck Berry?
I don't want to say.
Ooh, it's okay.
Ooh, rough. And with that,
Do we want to rate this bad boy? The glasses. I
oh,
thought you didn't want to wear.
can I make one more little nitpick?
Absolutely.
Yeah, go for it.
I know that it happens in the second one, but I love that they replaced Jennifer.
Why?
No offense to the actress that plays Jennifer in the first one, but her line delivery is rough. It's
Yeah.
rough.
Yeah.
Like it's very bland. It's very just like it's
Well,
almost like I'm reading this off a piece of paper and I'm just gonna tell you this thing that happened.
Can't give up, Marty.
I also feel
You can't
that
give
like,
up, Marty.
Elizabeth Shue, not in defense of Elizabeth Shue, we'll get into it in the second one, but like I feel like that
She's
character.
looking up Chuck Berry right now, just so you know.
I am.
Oh, okay.
I am googling him.
Sorry. So, in defense of Elizabeth Shue.
They just push that character off at
Yes, they
every
did.
cost. They just
Which is
get away from here. You're not part of the story.
so crazy because Elizabeth Shue is a great actress.
Elizabeth Shue.
I love her. And The Boys, Adventures in Babysitting. She's great.
Karate Kid.
She's a shoe in it.
Karate Kid. Oh, that's right. Yeah. She's a
Leaving
shoo-in.
Las Vegas.
Got you with that.
Is she in that, or was that just Hamlet 2 where he says that?
Oh, she is in Hamlet too.
She is in Hamlet 2.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's
Playing
so funny.
herself.
No, I recently watched Adventures in Babysitting, and I love her in
It
that.
wasn't that good. Don't sell it like it was that good.
Is it because you said she's a shoo-in?
You can just call me.
Oh, that's pretty funny.
Are you all right?
Yeah, I'm fine right now.
Is it the Chuck Berry thing?
It's not Reefa. Let's get into the review. For
Yeah,
this one, right?
let's rate it.
Who wants to go first?
Marissa, go first.
God, you know, when I was thinking about this and I was rewatching this, I was gonna give it a 5 because I really do. Okay, as much as I've nitpicked everything, I really do enjoy this movie. It's probably one of those movies that like every time it was on TBS or whatever it was on, I would keep it on. Like I'll watch it. I think it's a great story. I think it's a great concept, especially during the 80s. I think it's a great time frame to view both the future, especially because you're getting closer to the millennium. And then also, you know, you have your kind of conflicting ideals, more like morals from your 50s, your 60s, 70s, all of that kind of like thrown into the 80s. So I think that this is a great movie. I'm going to put it, because of all the nitpicks, I'm going to put it at a 4.5.
It's a respectable rating.
Super enjoyable, but like I still have my nitpicks of certain things, and as a movie in general, like yeah, there's just certain like acting parts. The makeup is kind of like Doc's makeup's great as an older, like they added older makeup, but then when you get to the parents, you're kind of like, ugh. And obviously we'll get into that in the second one, but yeah.
Mooney.
1.5.
I thought the movie was fun. I think it was an interesting concept dealing with like the whole time travel. I definitely think this is a sci-fi movie that I could get behind and I enjoyed. I thought the cast was great. I think for a movie that came out in 1985 and the impact that it's had 35 years plus later, and I think it definitely was a revolutionary film that came out at its time, and I think it still holds itself like to the test of time, like how much like people still quote about it, people still talk about it. I honestly really enjoyed watching the movie. I have like my nitpicks with the movie, but I don't have that much to complain about. I agree with Marissa. I'm at a 4.5 out of 5 for me.
Solid rating.
Mm-hmm.
Especially for you. That's like a...
It's a high point.
It's a
It's a
great
high one,
rating.
yeah.
That's
It's
almost like a gold star.
It's almost Shrek.
It's almost Shrek.
It's almost
That
there.
is a great.
Shrek is love.
Shrek is
Shrek
life.
is life.
Yeah.
Joseph?
Yeah, I love this film so much. I love Michael J. Fox and Christopher Lloyd and their characters. I love the sense of adventure. I love the sound. I love the music. I love the cinematography. It's kind of like, it is a period piece that takes place upon an adventure with an old man and a kid just trying to fix the timeline. You know what I mean? And it's a great film. So for the second time on this podcast, I'm going to give a 5 out of 5 to Back to the Future.
Damn. See, I thought there was only be one film that you would give a 5 out of 5, and we'll talk about that in a few weeks.
He
but
might give a third one.
He's gonna give a 6 out of 5 to that film.
Sneak peek there.
We'll cross that road when we got to cross it, but yeah.
5 out of 5. That's great.
We'll shoot that car when we get there. I'm sorry.
Love this movie. It's another movie that's like shaped who I am and like the lexicon of things that I think about and my brain chemistry.
Your brain palace.
Yeah, that. The things that they accomplished making this movie in the 80s is like pretty spectacular, especially going from what was the last one we did? We just did
Swan Princess.
No, before that.
Oh, I was like,
Sorry,
we
I
did
did-
Swan
no, like,
Princess.
just Terminator timeline. Now we're going back.
Home Alone?
No, after Home Alone. It was
Saw?
No, it was a
we
Christmas.
did Saw before.
Wasn't it Home Alone?
No, it was Santa Claus.
Oh,
Oh,
that's
Santa Claus. Tim Allen.
God, we're even forgetting.
That movie was a decade later. Terrible CGI and things in that, and like there's some things here and there, but to be still better than that and be in the 80s is pretty remarkable with some of the things they accomplished. I give it a 4.5.
Nice.
Yeah, that's where I'm at with that.
So solid across the board.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And with that being said, let's get into Back to the Future Part 2. What's the budget on this guy?
Budget's $40 million, which is a lot more than $19 million, right? Box office $332.5 million. A cinema score of an A minus.
Get out.
A minus cinema score.
Really?
So, but saying that now, what would the cinema score be for Back to the Future?
Probably
I would say with A minus.
plus.
I would.
No, I would say A minus.
I would give it an A minus.
Yeah, I would give Back to the Future an
I'd
A
be
minus.
plus. I'm at
I
A
would say
plus,
that-
yeah.
yeah, Back to the Future would be an A+.
I think Back to the Future would be an A minus. I think Back to the Future 2 would be like a B minus at best.
I'm at a B.
So
I'm at a B.
solid
Back to the
B
Future
would
2.
probably
My-
be right.
my thing for Back to the Future 2 is what I looked into is that it came out in 1989. There's a lot of big movies that came out in 1989. You have Batman 1989, which was one of the biggest box office
Yeah, but
hits
that
in
was the first.
1989.
That was one of the first times in years that we got like a live action Batman movie.
Yeah, but for Back to the Future 2, it was the sixth most successful film in 1989. You have Indiana Jones, The Crusader, as number
Oh, that hurts.
B. Back to the Future.
That one hurt a little bit.
Yeah. So
Wait, can
it
we go
was-
back to the Indiana Jones one?
So
the hell
Back
did
to the
you just
Future 2
fucking
was the
Do
sixth
you
most
mean-
successful
Keep reading.
The Last
domestic
Crusade?
film.
You mean Last Crusade?
The
Yeah,
Crusader.
sure.
If you were called the Batman, the Last Crusader.
I just want you to know that we have a friend that we'll be seeing this weekend that will be very upset that you missed that out.
Oh, whatever.
I mean,
I'm definitely gonna tell her.
She doesn't really. Watch
If
Indiana
you are
Jones,
watching
really.
this, a friend who you are watching this, I have not seen any of the Indiana Jones movies.
No, you
Oh
have seen.
my
You've seen
God.
Temple. of- What do you mean you've seen Indiana
I've seen
Jones
the first
movies?
one. First one.
You've seen the
one.
first two.
What's the
one.
first one?
yeah, go
Not-
ahead. Let
not-
her let her cook.
Not the one with the Asian kid from the Goonies.
Okay.
That's how you.
That's
So-
number two.
oh, wait,
That's
wait,
number
wait.
two. That's number two.
It
That's
is
what I
number
know.
2.
That's what I
What's
know.
number 1 though?
Indiana Jones.
Indiana Jones.
Not to.
God, I
It's
can't
Raiders
wait.
of the Lost Ark.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, we're not gonna talk about it. Anyway,
We'll get there when
we'll
we
get there one day. Yeah, we'll
yes,
get there one
we
day.
will be
We'll get there one
getting
day.
there sometime
Do
in
we
the
have
future.
to? It's gonna be so infuriating.
Why? It's gonna be great. These are great movies. so I
She's
don't
gonna
shake
hate
your
him.
head.
She's gonna hate him just as much as
I can-
Aliens.
I can see two.
Which okay, which
yes.
honestly,
I mean-
like just a 2-second timeout for the fact that Mooney loves what are those movies with Nicolas Cage where he's doing exactly the same thing?
The
National
movie?
Treasure.
Yeah, you love National Treasure, but you
My
never
point
seen
for years.
Indiana
My
Jones?
fucking point for years. When she told me I love those movies, I'm like, you don't like Nicolas Cage, you don't like Indiana Jones, but National Treasure is your cup of tea.
So-
Jesus, man. Back to the Future 2.
Hey,
Let's get into
I
it.
don't.
I'm
like
just saying,
Harrison
National
Ford.
Treasure ran because Indiana walked.
I hope no one heard what I just said.
Oh, I'm so mad, too.
We'll run the tape back
I'm gonna bleep it out, whatever it is.
anyway. This movie is I love this. I love the premise for this idea because for this movie, for the sequel, like seeing if they were to release it now and they're like, hey, we're gonna come out with Back to the Future Part 2, I'd be like, that actually sounds great, because in the last one they went to the past. This one they will actually go to the future. And I think that that's a great concept. I love the concept of having Biff, the bad guy, interject and make it about him. And it's almost like Biff's side of the story, if you will, in a way. So I love this concept. I just feel like the execution and them doing certain things for the future is a little rough, especially now that we have surpassed almost 10 years now of the 2015 year that they go into. Not because like we don't have hoverboards or anything like that. I know that you are always saying like, where's my hoverboards? And
Yeah, I'm
where's
still
my-"
waiting for
Shoes are
mine.
real, though. That's what.
The
I mean,
shoes-
yes.
Shoes are real.
Yeah.
Where's my fucking hoverboard? Where's
Yeah.
my flying cars? Where's my goddamn jetpack? I've been waiting for a jetpack for a while.
And I want
Don't-
most
They have,
movie
like,
theaters to have
kind
a thing
of
like the Jaws one.
something-ish.
Yes.
I want that.
Rocketeer, baby.
Right, yeah.
That's what
Oh,
I
you
want.
love Rocketeer, yeah.
I love the Rocketeer.
And I love the Jaws thing in the movie theater. I want that. Like just like the Jaws coming out, Joe. Like, I think that's cool.
Oh yeah, and we just so you guys know, we will be covering Jaws 19 whenever that happens.
Yes. This time it's really, really personal.
He's coming all the way to Jamaica. He's coming after us. I love that the buildings in the future still look old, but it's still in the future, which I understand cinema, you know, like making wise, if you will. I understand how that works, but I don't know. For some reason, it doesn't feel futuristic. Like, I understand, like, there's this kind of like, when you think of the future, what do you think of kind of thing? And you think like, like flying cars and like, you know, people in space and everything like that.
Skynet.
But like,
you know,
just anything. But I feel like this was a very weird like mishmash of like, it's still the 80s, but it's in the future 80s.
Yes.
So for me, the concept still works because we're talking about it in the aspect of time travel, because that is an alternate reality. When they go into the future, this is what this reality will be like.
Yeah.
So it still kind of works for me. It's not like this is how it's going to be. There's no changing it. It's 2015. We have flying cars.
Yeah.
It's more like something happened in the past. Now we have flying cars.
And I agree with you, because I think like in the movie they explained it themselves, where Doc was like, this is what normal life would have looked like in 2015. Some certain thing that Biff did created
Paradox.
an alternate skew, and now this is what 2015 looks like in, I would guess, like what, Earth 2 or whatever.
Yeah,
but
Paradox.
they couldn't go into the future, because if they did, that would make that reality.
Yeah.
That was the
Yeah,
whole. But the original concept for the second film, it was supposed to take place in 1967, when Lorraine was a hippie and George was working at a college. That was the original concept for the film.
Excuse
Yep.
me?
Bob Gale had to write the script because Zemeckis was busy directing Roger Rabbit. So that's why Bob Gale wrote
Which
most of the script.
Is also funny because there's multiple things that we're going to talk about that come into play with that. For one, when he's looking at the sports almanac, like, again, attention to detail.
Yes.
Like from the first one, they had all the posters, the elect mayor, Goldie Wilson.
Yeah.
And
This
then
one
in the
it's
future,
Junior.
it's re-elect Junior, and in the nightmare reality. Or no, because in the first one, it's between Goldie Wilson and another guy.
Yes.
Because Wilson wins, the other guy becomes homeless. But in this, you know, they keep with that theme. And I totally forgot where I was going with this point because I went off on a fucking tangent.
The Easter eggs, the attention to
The
detail.
Easter eggs.
Because
But
Roger
you
Rabbit.
When
like-
he's looking at the sports almanac in the future, within that window, you see like the old computer, the Dustbuster, whatever, all that. There's also a Roger Rabbit plushie that's
Yes.
in there.
Yes.
Oh,
yes.
that's fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then also when he's on the hoverboard, spoiler alerts, in that tunnel is the tunnel to Toontown.
Toontown, yeah.
The same tunnel.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
fun.
Yeah.
It's my little fun.
I've
fact.
only really seen Roger Rabbit like fully like twice.
That's
I've seen
another
it
one.
once.
One of my favorite movies of all time.
Twice.
Once.
What, did you say once?
Once in my life.
Put on.
No.
Pause. We'll watch
No,
it.
I'm not saying that I'm
Watch
not
along.
saying that I didn't like it. I just like I've never. It's
I
just
hate
one
the
of those
ride.
movie. The ride,
Roger
the
Rabbit
ride
is?
could be better.
I hate the
the
ride.
ride could be better.
Rip to that one kid.
Yikes. This movie's kind of rough.
Yes,
Acting is way rough.
Yes.
Like
There's a lot that
I love that they're doing the whole Eddie Murphy like character playing a character playing a character.
but it was the
kinda
first
thing.
to do it.
It was the first to do it. That's why I'm saying Eddie Murphy, but like everybody knows what I mean.
Yeah.
What I had a big issue
don't
with
know.
is when the cops pick up Jennifer in that alley and like they print her thumb. They're like, "Whoa, she has great Botox." Why Doc stops Marty from just going up there? Like, that's my wife. Here's my thumb. Yeah, we were just out. She took a nap. Let's get out of here.
Yeah.
Because then credits.
Well, yeah. Well, again,
And I get nitpicky, but like to me, I'm like when they're like, "Oh, she has," they don't question her being young. There's like she must have great surgeon or something.
again, that's
Yeah.
why Doc rips his face
Yes,
off in
yeah.
the future.
Yeah, I never understood that one.
And so basically, it was because they put old makeup on Doc in the first one, and the second one, he's like, I don't want to keep wearing that. It's really annoying. So he said, let's write in a thing. You did something future surgery, and now you look younger. So he rips off his prosthetics that
Yes,
he's
yeah.
wearing.
Yeah.
and that's really the only reason for that.
Dude, I mean, there's so many things in this film where I'm just like rewatching it. This is honest me. Younger me loved this movie. It was my favorite of the trilogy. Now rewatching it at this age, I'm like, it doesn't hit the same. I don't know if it's an age thing, but just now that I could just view certain things from a different perspective, I'm like, you could have done that. I'm like, it's just very nitpicky stuff that I'm into now. But I feel like now the first one's more of my favorite. Now rewatching the second one, there's just certain elements in this film. The acting is not great. There's still that sense of adventure, which I still love about it. But there's just a lot of moments where I'm just like, you could have done so much, especially when the third act when they're trying to get the almanac back. There's so many moments where I'm just grab it. Just grab the fucking book, kid. Like, and it just keeps going and going.
There's no repercussions if you just grab it and run. Like, you don't know that person. That
yourself hasn't seen yourself. I know they added that rule, but I'm like, but you're so out. Like, you're in different places at the same time. You could have just grabbed it. He could have seen you. You could have been like, bye. And then who cares? Like, what, he would have stopped you from playing the guitar at that one point?
Possibly. That might be the only downside
repercussion from that first ending.
That kid stole the almanac.
I'm gonna put like a fork in that road that you just put, which is basically like, I feel one way about it because yes, I love that. This is 100% why I love movies, right? Because you're watching Marty under the desk and trying to get the almanac, and like as a viewer, you're in that moment with him where you're just like, just grab it, just grab it. Oh my God, just grab it. Like, why isn't he? Oh, he's turning back around. Oh my God, he's got the hand. Like, when you see his chair back into the hand, you like almost feel it for him. The like, oh my God, your hand. And it's the number one reason why I love doing this and I love watching movies is because it puts you in that world and it puts you in that perspective with him, and you feel these feelings, right? Like, everything else around you is just like, it's gone. You're just focused on this moment of like, just grab it. Yeah. Just do it. They build that tension. But at the same time, the other side of that fork in the road, if you will, is just like, I was gone in that final part of the movie. Like, I don't have any notes. Like, I literally drew like the four of us in like a little space car. I just like, I'm driving, by the way, because I'm the safest driver. So, but it's not us.
Yeah, no. Yeah, I would have to agree with your.
But drawing. Mooney is my passenger princess, and then you two are in the back.
How dare you? No, that makes sense.
You guys are in the backseat with Joseph.
You guys are in the back.
Yeah.
But yeah, like the final piece of this movie, just like completely. I'm just kind of like, I even at one point, like, I think I looked at you guys, and I was just like, can you just remind me what happens? Like, this is kind of just not going. It's not hitching for me.
Like, did you want to wrap up? Or
yeah, they're doing too much too, where they're just kind of like, oh, well, we had all the other characters play younger and older versions of themselves, so now we have to have Doc face himself, which like I think was done pretty well. But at the same time, I'm just kind of like, is there a point to this? Like, are they just doing this for the sake of like, well, just everybody else had it? Yeah. Yeah. So it just seemed, I don't know. And then the acting of them versing themselves is really rough. The acting in general is really kind of not great. Like, as much as I think Biff could have had a really strong presence in this movie, which I think he does as a catalyst, I don't know how much I really enjoy the acting. I also do want to bring up the fact that I know we all know all this because we've all discussed it. We kind of touched on it before we started the podcast, which is the fact that we have a very big character from the first one who is absent during this movie, which is Crispin Glover.
Yes.
But they covered
sued.
up. Yeah, he did sue.
He did sue and won.
He did win.
Oh, he did.
Yeah. He did.
No,
he did win, but
he won like 700.
He won 500,000. He won over $500,000. But I think the greatest thing that came out of that is, if you guys ever went into like a production set or anything where you have to sign a name and likeness form because of Crispin Glover suing the directors and producers of Back to the Future, that is the reason why SAG now has a name and likeness form. So whenever you go use a name and likeness of any actor or whatever product, whatever, because of what happened in Back to the Future 2, you now have to sign a name and likeness form, which I thought was interesting because that was the whole reason now why we cannot copy anyone into any movie because of Crispin Glover.
That's crazy.
So good for him.
A little Hollywood history for everyone. Crispin Glover created
like
history
that.
for us.
I'm just not 100%. I don't know. I watched the interview. I've seen an interview where Crispin Glover is talking about the whole
It's all
situation.
back and forth.
It seems like a lot of back and forth. Like, I'm not saying that he's right or wrong. Just, I mean, I always enjoyed Crispin Glover in movies. Like, I love him in Charlie's Angels.
There you go.
I
Mm-hmm.
love
I
him
know, I
in
was
Charlie's
waiting for
Angels.
it.
I don't know why I love him in Charlie's
Just
Angels.
I don't-
Just
sniffing
sniffing that
hair.
hair. Yeah, I was
Yeah.
like sniffing that
That's
hair.
not what rap movie you started.
He was in a bunch of rap movies.
He was
No,
in-
he was not in a bunch of rap movies.
No,
he was in
a
one rap movie.
Which one was it?
It was.
Oh my
It's
God,
a
we just
name.
talked about
There's
it.
a Michael
just a
Jackson
name.
song, isn't there? Like
We just
based
talked
off
about
of it. Yeah, but look that up. Look, it's a rap movie.
I feel like it's like Harold or something. Like, it's a name.
yeah.
Charlie. Fuck, I don't know.
Remy. I'm just kidding.
I can't remember the name of it now. Yeah, I was like,
Yeah, it was really.
Is it rat catching?
no.
No.
Damn it.
It's a name. It's like Charlie or
This is
Harold
gonna be
or.
great for the podcast.
Yeah.
So while they're doing that,
You guys keep going.
Willard.
well, I'm trying.
It's Willard.
Willard.
It's Willard.
Willard.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Oh my God, he was in What's Eating Gilbert Grape.
That's Mooney's favorite movie, by the way.
It's my favorite Leonardo DiCaprio movie. Stand by it.
Cubbies.
Oh yeah, the Cubbies, dude.
Yeah.
That was one thing that the future did predict. Not in the same year, but
A year off,
Yeah.
which the Back to the Future official Twitter account came out and said it's because of the events that happened in the second one, a strike happened in 1994, which delayed the year the Cubbies won the World Series, which I thought was fun. Thought that was a good little thing to add into there.
yeah.
Mm-hmm. I thought this movie did a good job as well with the product placement that they did in the first one. I think I tried to count all the product placement in the second one versus the first one, where this one I counted to 36 and then I was like, you know what, I'm done now. It's a lot.
Yeah, with that pizza dehydrator or hydrator.
Honestly, I love that pizza hydrator.
Oh,
I think
it's
that's
so-
great. I want one.
I want one too. It reminded me of Spy Kids when you just put the
Yeah,
little
yeah,
thing.
the
The
Big Mac.
McDonald's.
Yeah.
I want one so bad. I think so. They had two product placements that stood out in Back to the Future Part 2. So the first one was Pepsi. Pepsi was a lot more prominent in the second one than it was in the first one. So the deal that Pepsi made with the producers of Back to the Future is we will provide everyone with free soda if you put our product placement in the movie, and they did. And then the second one, we obviously know the self-tying shoes that Nike created for Marty in 2015. So Nike actually created 1,500 replicas of the shoe, and they auctioned all of them off. And I thought it was really nice that they raised $4.7 million and donated all of the money to the Michael J. Fox Foundation for Parkinson's.
Yes,
Parkinson's research.
Ooh.
It's right there. I should have
I
read.
was like, she had
Yeah,
it written
yeah.
down.
I should have read. I'm
I
so
really
sorry.
like that a lot.
I thought that was a good thing that Nike did, especially to honor Michael J. Fox.
Yeah.
On the topic of that, I heard, I don't know if it's necessarily true or not, is that when they came back for 2 and he was trying to do the skateboard stuff, he was like, I have to relearn how to do it because I
Mhm.
don't remember. But actually it was because it was his early onset Parkinson's affecting his...
I gotta say, respect to Michael J. Fox, like, just as a human being, as an actor, because even to this day, I know that for all the times that they do kind of like, you know, anniversaries, and I know that that's the whole reason that we're covering this today, like, I feel like he's always there. He's always willing to talk about it. I feel like he's always, you know, open about it, even when the whole, like, I think they discussed, I saw an interview where they discussed the whole, like, Crispin Glover thing with him. I feel like he was just so cordial about it and very, like, he always remembers working with Crispin Glover, even when he did, what was it? Not Family Ties. Was it Family Ties?
Yes. I believe
Alex
that
P.
was the
Keaton?
show.
Yeah, I was like, I think it's Family Ties.
I think you're right.
But he said that Crispin Glover was on a couple episodes with him and that he was always great to work with. Like, he just seems genuinely like a great human being, especially like as an actor to work with. Like, he seems like he's genuinely just trying to make the best of it. Like, he was filming Family Ties whilst doing Back to the Future.
Yeah, filmed it during the day.
And it seemed like he was doing like all of the, like, you know, like all these hours in a day, and like he was, you know, filming one at night and one during the day kind of thing. And I feel like he just genuinely loves the craft that he portrays. So I honestly, I feel like, you know, he just deserves props. I mean, like him and Doc, Christopher Lloyd carry the film. I mean, like
Absolutely,
it's
yeah.
about their
It's their
relationship.
story,
Yeah, it's
yeah.
their relationship. So I feel like their chemistry together, and you can even see it in, you know, recent interviews and even, you know, past interviews, that they really truly seem like they have like a genuine friendship, which
Yeah.
is great.
Yeah. I agree.
I feel like with this one, I didn't enjoy it as much as I did with the first one, but I didn't hate it. I don't remember the second one as much as I remember the first one. I've only seen the first one a handful of times. It's probably my second time watching part 2. And I didn't necessarily, I went into it when we rewatched it with a blind eye, because I really did not remember anything from part 2, where I agree with what all of you guys said about like the acting not being as good as the first one. I think this movie was just very chaotic, with like a lot of like different plot points like happening throughout the film, that I found myself needing to be like, okay, wait, you need to go back like 10 seconds because I missed a part or anything. But I didn't necessarily hate the film. I honestly enjoyed it as much as I enjoyed the first part 1. I've also never seen part 3 of Back to the Future, and one day I'll watch it. One day.
She's never gonna watch it.
We don't know this unless you go into the future and find out, but we'll never know.
She's gonna be watching Swan Princess, the 5th or 11th
one.
one before she watches
The animated series.
Lies.
Should do some fun facts and then review this bad boy.
Do some fun facts.
Elijah Wood's first movie.
Yes, indeed.
Yeah,
Oh, he was a little kid, right?
playing the video games. Yeah.
Oh, how
It's a
fun!
baby's toy.
Oh, I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
And then this has nothing to do with the second one specifically, but Bill Nye, the Science Guy, came from the animated series, from the Back to the Future animated series. He was Doc's live action, because they used to have like live action scenes with Christopher Lloyd still playing Doc, and he was Doc's assistant, Bill Nye, and that ended up becoming Bill Nye, the Science Guy.
Oh, fuck. I didn't
Yeah.
know that.
Mhm.
That's cool.
And then the last but not least, Billy fucking Zane.
It's a Billy Zane classic here. He's,
Yes.
yeah. Speaking of which,
Hit us with it.
as you might notice, we have our Back to the Future props on the set. We have a little
Save the clock tower.
piece of history here. A good friend of the show, Billy Zane, has actually signed my copy of Back to the Future, the box set Blu-ray.
Nice.
Wonderful man. Would you say so, Marissa?
We had the pleasure of meeting Billy Zane at a convention one time, and he was great. Shout out to Billy Zane. I've had the pleasure of meeting a few celebrities in my lifetime, and I feel like he is honestly one of the number one nicest celebrities that I've ever met. Like,
Agreed.
just he genuinely like had a genuine conversation with us. I feel like we talked for a good like 20 minutes to him just at this convention. Like, I feel like nobody gave him the respect that he deserves for how many movies that he's been in.
Yes.
Very kind man, very respectable. Yeah, great guy.
Great guy. Good friend of the show.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
Uncle Billy.
Uncle Billy.
Uncle Billy. I actually didn't recognize him in the film when I
Yeah.
first saw it until
It was
like
the
it
opening
was
credits
pointed
from
out.
Billy Zane.
I was like, Billy Zane.
I mean, he's not like he's like one of the like
Yeah.
side, yeah, like
Yeah,
bad guy
especially in the
characters.
second one. Like, I didn't recognize him
The
with
hat
like
and
the
everything.
hat
Oh,
like
like-
covering
yeah,
like
yeah.
half his
when
face.
they're doing like the future, the 1985
Yeah.
timeline,
Yeah.
Mhm.
which by the way, that Biff inspired by your new president, not mine. Let's review this bad boy.
Marissa?
Acting, I can't get over the acting being so rough, especially like when they're playing older, younger, whatever versions of themselves. I don't know. There's like once again, there's so many nitpicks that I have, especially because now they're talking about 2015. Obviously, for us being in 2014, that was 9 years ago, and obviously we don't have a lot of the things that they said they would, but also we have so much more. In my perspective, like the only real thing that I was like, oh yeah, we actually do have that is like waiters as like robots kind of thing. Like that's the only thing that I was like,
Oh,
yeah,
the
that's
Korean barbecue.
yeah, that works.
Yep.
Yeah, I was like, oh yeah, that works. Yeah, that's safe. I hate the fact that like Marty being called a chicken is like his like Achilles heel. Yeah,
his
like
thing.
that's his trigger.
Crashes
like,
out every time
I
he's
was
called a
just
chicken.
like, I can't imagine being like, what do you mean, Ryan? You're chicken? Like if Mooney was like, oh, you don't want to ride that roller coaster? What are you, a chicken? I'd be like, yeah, and like,
Yeah.
I would say a worse word than chicken.
I don't know, the effects. Yeah, the effects aren't great. Like,
But they were good for the time.
They were.
but
They were.
were they?
Parts were bad. Like when he throws the book and you can see the, what is it, with the outline of.
Yeah, there's
the
just
superimposing.
I don't know.
but-
And the Jaws thing, as much as I love Jaws, I just can't. I'm gonna go 3 out of 5 because I like the trilogy. I feel like it sets up the third one very well. There's a lot of fun Easter eggs. I love the duo. I love watching Marty and Doc. Their characters still like continue that bond. So I'm gonna give it a 3. I'm gonna give it a 3.
That's solid.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it a 3.
Mooney?
I agree with Marissa. I think the dynamic of Marty and Doc is great in the second one, just as good as it was in the first one. I am a huge fan of Rick and Morty, and I see the inspiration of Rick and Morty watching Back to the Future after I've seen like whatever amount of seasons of Rick and Morty there is now. I feel like the acting wasn't as good. If you were to take not Biff, Gif's gang out of the movie, that's his name, right? Gif?
His name is.
Gif is the
Biff?
grandson.
The grandson.
Oh, Griff.
Grandson
Griff,
of
Griff,
Griff.
Griff.
yeah.
If you take Griff and his hooligans out of the film and older Lorraine with the boob job, I think the acting is great. I didn't really care for Rich Biff in the film.
Yeah, like why was Griff's voice so high like that?
I don't know.
And he was very robotic.
He
He's
was.
supposed to be like. a
Just
kid.
like
Yeah.
"Ooh."
I just really couldn't stand Griff and his gang. Other than that, I still think it's a classic film, and I think just as good as the first one. It's still widely quoted and referenced in pop culture. I'm gonna go with a 4 out of 5 at this one.
Wow.
Like
I'm
almost
really
want to
bored.
like challenge you and be like, name a quote from the movie.
None. I don't really know that many movie quotes. I just enjoyed it. I
Lawyer.
just enjoyed the movie.
You can
I just
try
enjoyed the movie. Shut up, Joseph. Don't look at me. I can
You're
tell you
pissed.
judging me behind those glasses.
No, I know you're level 1 to like here to here right now. Kid Joseph wants to give it a 5, but I can't. The acting's rough. It's just not as good. Doesn't hold up as well as I wanted it to. I'm at a 4. 4 out of 5. It's still enjoyable. Nostalgic stuff about it makes me happy when I watch it. So it's still a great popcorn flick to me. I can get past all the bad stuff and just enjoy it for what it is. So I'm at a 4 out of 5.
Yeah. I
Would you
agree
put
with
it
Joseph.
higher than 3?
Hmm?
Like I know we all eventually will get into 3, but like at this moment in time,
Yes, I have higher than 3.
you would put it higher than 3.
Yeah, I
Just
think.
out of curiosity.
I think 3 is like, to me, it's at 3. Yeah.
3 is a 3.
Yeah.
We'll have to see when we get there.
It's
I mean,
just an
yeah, we'll get
enjoyable
there.
film.
I just-
Like, I
Um,
enjoyed watching it.
That's why I was asking at this moment in time because obviously, like, we will not be reviewing that one recently, but like, I just out of curiosity.
In the
wanted to
future,
know.
we will be.
You mean Back to the Future?
Yes. Or in the past, depending on when you watch this.
Conundrum.
Yeah.
Anyway, continue.
For me, yeah, the acting is a little rough. The family scene, having Michael J. Fox play his own daughter and like look at the camera like directly into the lens. It's weird. I'm not huge on that, but there are things that I do like them repurposing certain scenes and like going back into the past, doing that whole aspect. Yeah. However, there are parts that I do like about it. Like I feel like I'm on the opposite end with you, where I'm like they did do a good job with certain things, especially when Biff is talking to himself in the car, and really the only thing splitting those two scenes is the windshield in the car, because that's where they put the split frame when they filmed it twice.
Yeah.
I'm at I want to say a 3.5 for part 2 at this moment in time, forever, and we'll see where we are with part 3.
At this moment in time, forever.
Yes. And that's where I'm at. So, with that being said, let us know what you thought about Back to the Future Part 1, 2, or 3. Let us know in the comments. What's your favorite part? What would you do in the future? Would you want to know your future self?
Would
or
you
your
steal that
parents?
almanac?
Would you become
I 100% would have.
Donald
wouldn't have.
Biff in the future?
Morals.
I would have stole it.
Let us know. So, yeah, until next time, we'll see you guys another time.
In the future.
In the future, forever.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thanks for watching.
Thanks for listening. Until next time, the podcast, a show so sublime. Marissa, Mooney, Joseph, and Ryan signing off with glee. Join us next episode for more sequel revelry.